Hello, everybody. So, welcome to the Azure AI show. So, today we have lots of stuff to discuss about the Microsoft Ignite, the Microsoft Book of News, and so here we have the Microsoft MVP Dan from US, Chicago, and
Here.
Frank Falvey from Ireland, and Stephen from US, and myself Pratap. So I'm from Chennai, India. So now we can. I just hand over the session to Dan so he can discuss about the Microsoft Ignite session and the Book of News as well. Yeah, over to you, Dan.
Excellent. So, a week and a half ago, I guess, I attended Microsoft Ignite, Microsoft's big conference for 2023. And I say big because this was several thousand people who gathered in Seattle, Washington, at a fairly new conference center, close to the old conference center where Microsoft used to hold internal and external events. And at Microsoft Ignite 2023, similar to previous Microsoft Ignites, they have produced a book of news. And what this is a website off of news.microsoft.com that goes through several of the announcements that were made at Microsoft Ignite. So in the upper right, I have a table of contents that I can see. And we can see that Microsoft made several announcements from an Azure perspective. Azure led the keynote with lots of infrastructure announcements, lots of management and operations, confidential computing, and then Azure Compute was probably the star of the show with things like new chipsets that were announced during the keynote. And so I can go down through all of these different categories from an Azure perspective to take a look at announcements that might interest me, as Amazon S3 shortcuts generally available. I can go right to that section instead of having to scroll. A couple developer topics and items under those. And then the ones that really interested me were obviously the Copilot announcements. So Microsoft announced, for instance, in Edge, the ability to use Edge for business with Microsoft Copilot. And then Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 announced some new capabilities. I can go right to that section to take a look at the information related to new AI assistants for Microsoft 365. And Microsoft also shared a number of the companies that are using Copilot for Microsoft 365. So this book of news link, I will go ahead and share in the chat here. See if I can find one of my windows that I have open. And Pratap, I don't know how many channels we're live on, but I know I'm live on my channel. We're live on your channel. We're probably live on several other places too.
Yeah, it's probably six broad destinations it will be.
Awesome. So as usual, we are coming to folks from several different places. The other thing that wasn't necessarily announced with Microsoft Ignite, but was certainly part of the conference and part of what I spent some time working with, was the new Microsoft Applied Skills. And what these are from Microsoft Learn. And instead of scheduling a certification, I'll call it traditional certification in Azure Fundamentals or Microsoft 365 Fundamentals or managing Microsoft Teams, the MS 700 credential and course, Applied skills are skills based um, awards that you can get from Microsoft. And these are based on going through several different launched applied skills. There are, I believe it's 8 applied skills that are available now. These are free and they are assessments that have you in a virtual machine with several tasks. So, unlike a traditional Microsoft curriculum course where you have a lab and you have a right hand panel or a left hand panel that walks you through all the steps, do this, go here, click here, configure this, type in that. What these applied skills do, for instance, in Power Automate, is just give you a task and expect you to figure out how to do the task or know how to do the task. So, for instance, in the Power Automate section, I believe you get, it's either 1.5 or 2.5 hours to complete. And you have requirements that you're trying to meet, but you have to figure out or know how to meet the requirements. You don't get the step-by-step on here's how to schedule something automated with Power Automate. Here's how to, step-by-step do that. You need to learn the step-by-step so that you can show the applied skill. Same thing for, I think Frank was sharing a Azure Monitor example where he went into the Azure Monitor and had issues setting it up in the virtual machine. These are brand new. They've just launched them. Frank, I don't recall if they give you an option like they do on the regular exams to actually comment on, hey, I didn't have rights to do this, or I had some issues with the applied skills lab. Usually on the credentials and certifications, they give you an opportunity to comment and to come back and review questions. I don't recall if I saw that.
I did have a look to see if there was an area where I could make comments so as that they could actually fix the issue going forward,
Yeah.
So I know Laura was the person that made this announcement, but at Microsoft Ignite, Liberty Munson was the individual that presented and talked about these from the Microsoft perspective. So if we search for, if I can spell Liberty, Munson. Oh, and now I'm second guessing how to spell her last name. Let's see if I got it anywhere near correct. Liberty Munson. Looks like it's an O. There we go. So here's Liberty's LinkedIn. And Liberty was one of the folks that spoke about the Microsoft Applied Skills. So as an MCT, there's the forums that we have access to give Microsoft feedback. Liberty, I know, was the person that said she gets the comments from a Microsoft certification perspective. I know she was talking about applied skills versus the actual certifications. She might not be the person to actually answer, but between the forums that are available on LinkedIn, Facebook, I know they just added a chat to one of the MCT forums that I'm on there. I'm sure we could figure out who the correct voice at Microsoft is to get some of that feedback from a standpoint of issues with the applied skills. Starting with Laura might be a little high on the on the chain, Vice President of Microsoft Worldwide Learning. But I know there's some other contacts, Frank, that I can give you, and we can see if we can give that feedback on, like, how would you provide feedback on the applied skills.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I definitely will do a few more of them, all right, going forward.
Cool. If I search for designer here, I know Microsoft Designer was something else that I ran into. The plans at Microsoft Ignite that were announced from a designer perspective is that it's coming to commercial customers through both Edge and Teams fairly soon. So if I switch gears here for my final demo from our Microsoft Ignite info, find my window here, present, share screen, and let's get my Microsoft Teams window here. This is my learning room that I manage with Sharon, Weaver, and Sarah. And one thing that we can do in our learning room, which is available off of Microsoft's website, loop components went generally available. So I see that loop components have arrived in channels, but I also see the integration of Microsoft Designer here if I do an announcement. So I could say, welcome Designer to Microsoft Teams. And as part of doing that, I could add an image. So maybe I could add an image of Sarah, Sharon, and myself, or I could maybe put something up here about create a banner. Says, welcome Designer to Microsoft Teams. We can see if Designer understands what I'm asking it to do there. Welcome to Microsoft Teams. Missed the word designer in here. So we could say Designer with Microsoft Teams. It seems like 4 words might be the banner limitation, because I ran into this in something else I was trying to do. Design with Microsoft Teams, very, very close, but the AI isn't getting exactly what I want. So if you have this kind of challenge, the other thing you can do now is you can add an image and let Microsoft Designer come up with a way to actually showcase that image. So for instance, I could go to my team here and I could grab images from either previous posts or from the page where we have our profiles. So let me stop sharing and I'll share my entire screen, making it a little easier for me to navigate around here. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so now if we go to another tab here, hide that, and we do Microsoft Learning Rooms, Modern Work, which is what ours is called. Learning Room Directory, Soft Tech Community. And if you look for Modern Work as a category, you'll find our Modern Work Learning Room here. So Sarah, Sharon, and I are the learn experts that are part of this. And the form allows you to provide your information so that you can join the learning room. So you can see that it's global, it's modern work. We support that in English, and that we are the 3 learning experts. So you can see our profiles at the bottom. Sarah is from the UK. Sharon is from the US. She's a Microsoft Regional Director, MVP, as well as a Microsoft Certified Trainer. Sarah is a MCT and MVP. And I am an MCT and MVP as well. It looks like I need to update my employment because I work for Smarter Consulting and Sharon now. And then you can see there's another modern work learning room. There's only, it looks like, two of us so far that have learning rooms. And this is
So the Smita
Siddharth,
Nachan,
Smita,
yeah,
and
Smita, Nandip Nachan, and Siddharth.
yeah,
So they last, so they all are from M365 platform.
excellent. Yeah.
So
Yeah, so those are the two learning rooms for modern work. But if you're in another area like AI and data or Azure, you can look at
yeah,
these. And several of these have many learning experts. Kazim,
Kasim Sheikh,
Jorge, yeah, Tiago.
yeah,
So
that's
many
true.
of these have different languages that they support besides English. And you can look based on the products, or you can look at all of the learning rooms that are available. So that was another thing that I learned about and learned more about, and met people who are involved with the Microsoft learning rooms. I'll turn things back over to you, Pratap.
Sorry.
I can send things back over to you unless there are other questions about Microsoft Ignite.
Yeah. So I just share that PPT, and then you can explain that.
Yeah, I don't see the PPT on my side.
1 second. Yeah. So this
Perfect.
is okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, 1 second. I just go through that each one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, so these are, I don't think, let me see if I can, it doesn't look like I can control it, but if you can go to the first one here.
Yeah. This is the first thing about the age of Copilots.
Yeah, but I can speak on each. The age of copilots, there were announcements about various copilots, and those include copilot.microsoft.com. That surprised me a little bit because I assumed Microsoft might use that announcement as the opportunity to introduce what they've already talked about as a top level domain for Microsoft 365 as cloud.microsoft. So I know they've given teasers probably 6 months or more ago about Teams moving to teams.cloud.microsoft, Sway moving to sway.cloud.microsoft, and
Yeah.
several other Microsoft 365 items. But copilot.microsoft.com now is the home for the what used to be Bing Chat Enterprise.
Yes, yes, of
And
course.
that,
So the Copilot is everywhere. So it will be moving
yep,
to integrate to any, I mean, all the M365 platforms.
yep. And that
And
next slide, I think, was where Satya
stack.
shared a lot of where Copilot and Microsoft Copilot and Copilot Studio fit into the overall AI safety and security from a enterprise perspective.
Yeah. And just said about the Cobalt.
Yep. So the announcement of Cobalt was one of the first CPUs that
Yeah.
was announced at Ignite. This is a CPU that Microsoft designed, and I don't think you have a screenshot of it, but Satya held up the actual
Yes, 1 second.
processor in front of us. Cool.
I think
There we go.
so. This is
This is
the
Maya.
Maya.
Yeah. So two processors were shown that were
Yes.
developed by Microsoft.
Yeah. Even I saw in the live meeting. He showed me that CPU and everything and Maya and as well as yeah. So the Microsoft Cloud AI Accelerate optimized for LLM training and so how the Maya will be work according to the users, I mean customers perspective. So I don't know exactly how the Maya will be work. I don't know. So he told
Yeah.
me that
So
the Maya and Cobalt will be, I mean end users up in 2024. He told me like that. I don't know exactly. Will you please let
Yeah,
me know how it?
I believe both of these will be integrated into solutions that Microsoft offers in Azure. Let me just bring up the Maya page here. And chips will start rolling out early next year to Microsoft's data centers. So the other thing that was shared as part of the keynote was that Microsoft is building a data center every, I think it was 3 days was shared. And the data centers that Microsoft builds, once they've been built, like the Chicago and Ireland data centers go back to 2009 from Microsoft. Both of those data centers continuously get upgrades from Microsoft's perspective. So when I started touring the Chicago data center before it opened, there were plans to have traditional data center, raised floor, servers just moved in as is. They were using Ethernet at the time for the network connectivity. And they were experimenting with ways to make it much more efficient and abiotic cooling, so swamp coolers, essentially, as opposed to traditional HVAC and air conditioning units. They were using chilled water to make the plant more efficient in Chicago. Ireland was kind of the sister to Chicago, as well as San Antonio in the US. Those all opened in the 2009 timeframe. But since then, things like fiber from a connectivity, a network connectivity perspective, and thinking about IT packs, which were essentially semi trucks that would come in pre-configured with the servers. So all you had to attach was power, network, and potentially consider cooling for
Yeah.
the pack to work. And they've since put those underwater.
Yeah, so that on-premises data is very important at that time, right? So I think that this is about micros. I mean, supercomputers. The top
Yes.
10.
So they also announced that Azure has is the world's largest computer, if you're considering all of Azure, but some of the announcements around the scale that Microsoft can achieve now with Azure and some of the supercompute capabilities were shared as well. I'm sure this is in the book of news as well. So if you search that really long document that I put in Pratap, your LinkedIn profile. So we're probably live on a bunch of people's LinkedIn profiles or company pages. If folks can't find that link, we can go back later and kind of populate it in different places. But Microsoft Azure and the Eagle supercomputer, you can
Yeah.
see how many,
So
I think those are
even
petaflops.
I'm working as a I mean data engineer at Evident. So I'm belongs to so my organization just developed that earlier not that is the sixth one. So this is the one of the supercomputer. So we in my organization will be built about that. So we are really proud of them. And so these I think so these all are the top 10. So but we cannot expect the only this is the top 10. So we can expect more supercomputer will become in the very soon. So and so and this one how you can elaborate that
Yeah,
Microsoft
there's
Azure.
been since Ignite, there's been a lot of back and forth with Microsoft and OpenAI. Um, I think the latest that I heard was that Sam Altman
Yeah,
and
Sam Altman
uh,
was
folks are back
design.
at OpenAI as opposed to going to Microsoft, but the board is changing. Microsoft, I know, is going to be on the OpenAI board. Um,
Yeah,
I believe this was big news at the time,
yeah,
or I'll say expected news that Microsoft is embracing OpenAI and they're working on Microsoft versions in Azure of
okay.
um, OpenAI framework. And then
Mm,
Copilot is also using large language models and has a lot of the security and the compliance concerns
Yeah,
addressed as well around that. And then I believe the other love that was shared was for open source at uh, at Ignite as well.
yeah. And the next one, yeah,
Yeah,
this is the
yeah,
we already discussed this, and MAS model as a service.
yeah. So Microsoft also announced model as a service, so similar to infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and platform
Platform
as a
as a
service.
service.
Platform is where Microsoft started the Azure journey in 2009 as well. Model as a service would be the idea of taking a lot of these large language model tools or APIs, Meta's Llama 2, and having those models as a service in Azure. I know Microsoft is also working diligently in things like developers platforms as a service. So instead of having to install a bunch of tools to get a developer up and running, think
Yeah,
of a model as a service, and that might fall under this new category as everything a developer needs to just focus on coding, as opposed to, well, before I can start coding, I have to install GitHub and I have to install Git and I have to install the correct version of, you know, Nougat or, some other tools that I'm using before I can
yeah.
actually code. Model as a service would be, what if all that was configured for me and I just focus on the code?
So I think it's it's, we can simply say it's like multi-cloud. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it will use for all the services, like it will include the infrastructure as a service, it will be used as a platform as a service, it is used for as a software as a service. So it includes that all the three things belongs to the model as a service, I think. So
yep.
I don't know so whether it is I don't know exactly the accuracy level is high or not, I don't know exactly, but to move it to next one. Yeah.
Yeah.
NVIDIA
And
partnership.
then, yeah, and then NVIDIA came out as well to talk about the AI Foundry service on Azure. These are two systems that were announced, one being at Microsoft's data center and one being at NVIDIA, and taking into account the capabilities that NVIDIA is bringing to large language model work. And RAG came up in the presentation. Um, I have since looked it up and forgotten what RAG stood for. Um, it is retrieval augmentation generation, and it's the architecture that augments capabilities of large language model software like ChatGTP from OpenAI. So NVIDIA's partnership was announcing new hardware and new capabilities that both NVIDIA has a version of and Microsoft has a version of, and they're partnering on these.
Yeah, so even I saw that too. So the NVIDIA, creating the new AI models and everything that will be integrated into Azure services as well.
Yep, and new GPUs,
Yeah,
graphic processing units.
and then Azure OpenAI service.
Yeah, and so the preview of GPT-4 Turbo and adding
Oh,
vision to um, that large language model. DALI 3, I
so
believe,
is
is
it
what
working DALI 3? Yes, I didn't see utilize that Azure OpenAI services. So
I think
I
DALI
mean,
3 is there, but
yeah, formally we
I have to
say
look.
that DALI 2 is working. DALI 2 is working and GPT 3.5 Turbo is working. I don't know exactly. These two is working right now. I don't know exactly. Let's see. So probably next session we can take care of this one, DALI 3 and GPT-4.
Yeah, let me see if OpenAI shows up with anything related to this. It looks like it's definitely on the OpenAI side. Let's take a look at Azure. OpenAI service announcements. Let's see if it's under here. Yeah, I just see examples in the announcement from tech community. I don't see necessarily dates
Oh, okay, okay, no problem.
that are
I think
discussed, but
so. These features are very, very. So we can play around Azure OpenAI services with GPT-4 and GPT Turbo with the Vision. So I think how the Vision will be work it will be like computer vision.
they did an example of GPT-4 with Vision, and I'm trying to recall exactly that demo. I believe it was something with GPT-4 Vision Open or Azure.
Yeah. So in the OpenAI services we have already like speech studio and language studio and vision studio. So all of those. So probably the GPT is 4 is turbo with the vision means it's like that I identify automation. I think I don't know exactly how it will be work. So we can look forward to the next week. I can schedule this about GPT-4 with the vision and DALI 3.
Yeah, I think it was creating. So similar to how designer creates a image based on a prompt,
Yeah, yeah.
GPT-4 Turbo with Vision
Mm.
creates a video with just prompting. So you could say, "Hey, I need a community video for Microsoft Speakers Hub, and it should showcase, the fact that we're worldwide and the fact that we're focused on artificial intelligence as well as Microsoft Azure, and that prompt would create a video as opposed to a still image. So Microsoft Designer sometimes adds elements of animation to the
Oh,
prompts that are brought back, but it's not necessarily front and center. GPT-4 Turbo with Vision would be I guess, the equivalent of DALI 3, but for video as opposed to images.
yeah. So the next slide will probably about the fabric.
Yep. So Fabric was also announced as generally available. And
Yeah.
this would be your data platform piece. So lake centric, and you have your complete analytics, and it's AI powered from a Fabric perspective. And all the aka.ms links take you to more information about the particular announcements. The book of news would also combine a lot of these major announcements or generally available
Yeah. So
technologies.
yeah, even I think last Saturday I went to the community. So in one of the city in so another capital city of my state in India. So we we organized one event about Microsoft Fabric. So I'm explained about the unified analytics platform that is the Microsoft Fabric. So probably right now it will be around the 7 components with the data warehouse and data factory and React and so few more options are there and Power BI and everything will be integrated in the Microsoft Fabric. So I think in the Ignite session they will announce about the Microsoft Purview will be also included in the Microsoft Fabric. That is Purview will be unified data governance. This is unified analytics platform. I think
Yeah.
yeah. So the AI powered and AI powered platforms, everything will be. I think I don't know exactly. Microsoft also think about it is like analytics. They will create about one unified analytics platform. That is Microsoft Fabric. So they can include all the services of analytics and everything. So
Yeah,
I
I
think
think they're trying to move a lot of things to be
integrate.
integrated in one place as opposed to 15
Uh,
or more different places. So Fabric, Intra ID, and what was the third example you used?
data,
Purview,
data,
Purview
data
for
science,
governance, and
data.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, having one or
and
two places for these as opposed to just so many different choices.
yeah, so these are the mirroring in the Microsoft Fabric. What we are discussed about the Snowflake, MongoDB, and SQL database and the Cosmos DB. So we can some. I mean, we have that. So the data warehouse we have to store lots of information. So whether it is the on-premises or data or the virtual data, so everything we have to everything will be in one lake. So the one lake means so the every person in the organizations can utilize that one lake. So we don't have each person has each one lake, and so the organization is having the one lake. So that's why they created the Microsoft Fabric. So here we have the in the one lake we stored the so analytics like Snowflake and MongoDB and Azure SQL database and Azure Cosmos DB. So we have all these features. So can we add something about this? Dan?
Yeah, I don't have much else to add about Fabric or the mirroring and the One
Okay.
Lake. I know this is one thing that my wife's company and
Oh,
others struggle with is when you create data warehouses, making sure things like purview and permissions and governance follow the data as you consolidate or as you roll that up to other systems. If there's
yeah,
something confidential that's in a database and I move it to a data warehouse and I don't take that confidentiality along with it, one of the
yeah,
concerns could be I can't get to the database, but maybe I can find the information in a data warehouse or a data lake somewhere. So you need to make sure that the governance flows through as you either consolidate or permutate data to different places. So I know that's probably one of the pieces that's the purview and um, uh,
yeah.
one lake perspective.
Yes, one lake perspective. And so next slide about the chat GPT.
Yeah, so from a chat GTP perspective, um, looking at this running on Cosmos DB and Kubernetes, and then using GitHub, Microsoft and OpenAI are using the Microsoft tools to actually work with OpenAI. And that may have been one of the portions of the subsequent after Microsoft Ignite news about Microsoft is going to make sure these things move forward one way or another. So either with OpenAI or by bringing people over from OpenAI. Um, I think everything there has stabilized at least for the foreseeable future. But it's
Yeah,
always interesting to see changes or things that move quickly. And they mentioned fastest growing consumer product. When you think of previously adopted technologies, like I remember Connect, the Xbox capability to have a vision camera that could capture your movement at like $100 retail. At the time, they said that was the fastest growing consumer product because it was the right price point and many people already had gaming devices. Thinking about something like this versus previous growth, this is certainly out in front.
yeah, yeah. So we think about the Xbox, but how can we utilize that technologies in the gaming perspective as well?
Yeah, and I know one of the MCTs that I'm close with, CA, has
Okay.
been super involved in the VR, AR, and different types of reality, augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed
Yes. Yeah.
reality,
Mixed
MR.
reality.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, Microsoft Mesh or Mesh on Microsoft Teams will be generally available in January. This was something I was hoping to see come to the HoloLens 2, but it seems like it's still in some kind of preview or early state. In January, this will be available in the Microsoft Teams app, so you'll be able to switch to an immersive experience within Teams. And it's also coming to the Meta Quest devices. So
Yeah.
I'm not
Even
sure what the future for HoloLens is, but you'll be able to experience on at least a couple different platforms, including Teams.
yeah. Even so, we are from Evident, right? So my organization will be split it into two. One is Evident and one is Azure. So I have the two organization mail. One is with the older organization and one is so we are converting from the older mails to the new mail. So we are using. we're unable to use the Microsoft Teams right now. But Microsoft announced the new Teams that was very good. So we are using avatars and so whatever the some only limited features like Copilot and avatar we have to use some limited features only.
Yeah, I've
And
ran into a
yeah,
couple things like this that have me in the old version of Teams, like custom streaming. I still haven't
yeah,
gotten working consistently in new Teams, and Mesh would be another thing that I've had to use
yeah,
the current Teams, I'll call it, or the old Teams. If they're calling new Teams, I guess it's old Teams.
yes, yes. And next thing about the Copilot Studio. So it is very very important.
Yeah, so Copilot announcements at Ignite included Copilot Studio. So the ability to actually augment Copilot is probably where the most of the power is going to be, right? So the ability to have Microsoft 365 data understood within the Microsoft 365 apps would provide you the ability to say things like create a summary of this email thread for me, or create a PowerPoint based on a Word document, or several other things that we've seen in demos for the last probably 9 months at this point. Copilot Studio would be the ability to put additional business data or information around Copilot so it understands things corporate or company specific. So augmenting those things into the ability to do things like, board meeting information, or synthesize into not only the data, but some kind of business process or um, business logic
Yeah,
that wouldn't be there otherwise.
yeah, that's great news. And customer corporate commitment for Azure open services.
Yeah, so Scott Guthrie, I believe, was keynote on day 2 or 3. And this was copyright commitments from an OpenAI service perspective. Microsoft, from a privacy and copyright perspective, have made several announcements about making sure they're staying ahead of either regulatory or leading the way in many cases. I wasn't there for this keynote. I had other shifts to do. I was manning the Windows 10 and 11 auto patch
Oh,
booth up on the fifth floor of the convention center. So the first floor was registration. The second floor was keynotes. Third floor was Microsoft Learn and several labs. Fourth floor was probably sessions or meetups. And then the fifth floor was the expo, essentially the expo hall. It wasn't the size that it had been at previous Ignites when they were in Orlando or Chicago. The expo hall was somewhere you could definitely get your steps in. This was, think of like a large hall or a large auditorium size, maybe a couple football fields in size, or
okay,
soccer
okay.
fields.
Yeah, yes. Frank, do you do anything, Frank? So we have 50, 20 minutes left. So can we do anything?
Yeah, I would kind of have one or two slides. Well,
Yeah, you
few
can
slides,
do. You can share your screen and you can explain
PowerPoint
things.
there, and sure you might throw a few questions at me, and it's about Azure virtual desktops. I'll just share my screen there now. 1 second. Um, second there now. So I have a PowerPoint. We'll just see. Can you see that there?
Yep.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'll just start it. Slideshow from the beginning. So it's I didn't have any pictures to put in because obviously it is virtual. So what is Azure Virtual Desktop? Azure Virtual Desktop is a cloud-based desktop and app virtualization service that provides users with a secure, scalable remote desktop experience. It enables users to access their desktop and applications from anywhere in the world on any device and at any time. So the AVD is kind of, you will see if you're looking it up, Azure Virtual Desktop. It's built on top of Microsoft Azure, which means it's highly scalable, secure, and reliable. So why upgrade to Azure Virtual Desktops instead of mini PCs? Well, Azure desktops are flexible, secure, cloud-based virtual desktops infrastructure. So you see kind of acronyms for VDI, so that stands for the Virtual Desktop Infrastructure Solution. Delivers great user experience from anywhere. Azure Virtual Desktop can help you reduce cost, improve productivity, and enhance security for your organizations. So, like from that thing there, if you got ransomware using mini PCs, you have no way back. Whereas the virtual desktop, you can just shut it down, start it back up again, and then you got a fresh one. Azure Virtual Desktops is compatible with Windows 10 and Windows 11 and Microsoft 365 and other applications that your employees use every day. So companies basically they're using it Office 365 every day anyway. So moving to Azure Virtual Desktops is a no-brainer, I think. Azure Virtual Desktops offer a better alternative to mini PCs, which are small but powerful computing devices that require more maintenance, hardware upgrades, and or energy consumption as well. People are not aware of that. Like there'll be loads of mini PCs, they're using lots of electricity, whereas with virtual desktops, they're in the cloud. Microsoft is doing all the crunching of the power there, so it's a good savings there. Next slide there. But some of the benefits of Azure Virtual Desktops over mini PCs. They offer scalable and reliable virtual desktop infrastructure platform that can handle any workloads and number of users. So you can have thousands of users using these things. Azure Virtual Desktops provides a consistent and optimized experience for your employees across devices and locations with inbuilt intelligence, security, and compliance features. It enables you to leverage the power of the Azure Cloud Services. So anything in Azure Cloud Services, such as backup, disaster recovery, monitoring, analytics, to manage, optimize your virtual desktop infrastructure environment. Azure Virtual Desktop changes Linux compute rate for Windows 10 and Windows 11 VMs, which can save you up to 72% versus pay-as-you-go pricing. So basically, you're running Windows 10 on Linux, which will save you a lot of money. You don't really need to know Linux. It's just you're saving on the virtual the VMs basically. Virtual desktop estimates you need for buying and installing and maintaining mini PCs, which can be costly, complex, and prone to failure. So you could have if you have a few hundred of these devices, you're going to have them fall over from time to time. whereas the virtual desktop thing, you just shut it down, spin it back up, and you're off you go again. Um, so the pricing options for Azure virtual desktops um, includes two parts, right? So the user rights and the infrastructure costs. So there's two parts. The first part, like there's additional costs to having eligible Windows and Microsoft 365 or Microsoft Remote Desktop Services or RDS client access or CALS. Alternative, you can pay monthly per user. Um, so it's starting at 550 per user. Um, I'm working with Striker there now, and they're already paying E3 licenses, so all their employees can actually use Azure virtual desktops for free. So that 550 is cut out. So um, you're only going to have to pay a lot of companies if they go for virtual desktops. They're already using Microsoft 365 and their license is E3. So the other part then is the Azure infrastructure costs. So you'll need to pay for the Azure resources that you use to host and manage your virtual desktop environment, such as VMs, storage, networking, etc. So some companies might only just need to use the compute part, and the networking part you might need to store anything. Others, depending on their thing, that they might use a lot of storage, so that part can actually go up and down. So you can use the Azure pricing calculator. I'll go through that there again in a minute just to show people how easy it is to use the calculator and kind of to estimate the cost before you actually start using the virtual desktop. And so cost comparisons between Azure virtual desktops and mini PCs. So I'm using this figure of 500, we say, users who need to access Windows 10 VMs and for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for 12 months. So here's a kind of rough estimate of the total cost of ownership for the Azure virtual desktops and PCs. So for a company that already has E3 licenses, you're going to have $0 for your user rates, and we'd say $54,000 for Azure infrastructure costs for the whole year. So the next line there, you can see, right, mini PCs could roughly cost you for 500 of them, $350,000 for the hardware purchase, plus 50,000 for hardware maintenance, plus $25,000 for the electricity cost. So that's 425,000 per year. So if you use the Azure virtual desktop, this can save your company, if you have about 500 users, $235,000 per year compared to mini PCs, which is a 72% reduction of the total cost of ownership. So kind of the conclusion, Azure virtual desktops is a superior solution to mini PCs, offering you more benefits, lower costs, and less hassle for your organization. Azure virtual desktops can help you achieve your business goals, such as increasing efficiency, security, flexibility, while reducing complexity, risk, and waste. So kind of like with your mini PCs, like every 3 years, you're going to have to buy new ones and refresh them. Whereas if you're using the virtual desktops, Microsoft is looking after all the stuff in the background, so you don't have to worry about the hardware being refreshed or the software being refreshed. They're looking after all that. So the virtual desktops is easy to set up. I actually done it one there last week, and we went kind of like 4 steps. So set up your networking part, and how many users you want, set up the VM, and then you set up a host pool of all your people. So, like if somebody wants to get started with the virtual desktops, you can sign up for a free trial or contact one of the Microsoft representatives, or you can visit Azure Virtual Desktops website for more information. There's lots of there. So that's the PowerPoint thing. I just show you there the actual pricing calculator. Can you see that there on the screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this, when you log on to the Microsoft Azure pricing calculator, this is what you get. So if you're looking for, you say desktops, so you can just type in here, I'm starting to write desk, and there pops up the first one, Azure Virtual Desktops. So we'll just go into that one, just scroll down the page. So you just kind of fill out basically what you want. So I'm in Northern Europe, right? So you pick where you are. So this is Northern Europe is Ireland, and I want a pooled one. So the pooled one means that you could have 500 employees and they're all sharing the resources. Like some of them might be using it more and some might not. So they're just using that. So the multi-session part then is where lots of people are using it. And we'll just put in here that the workload type is heavy. So we say 500 users and they're going to use a total of 200 hours. So that's 220. So that would be, say, a month. And we'll put in 90% there of peak 5. And this is just to give us a rough idea. So we're not using any external users, so that's that part. So as I was saying, you could kind of pick how much storage you want. Got a drop down here. So I'm going to just use the basic one here there, I think. Just for the demo of it. So the different pricing plans, as I was saying earlier there, if you kind of pick, if you're a company and you're going to be using these things year in, year out, you can use a reserved instance of, if you go for 1 year, you get 25% savings. So if you're going to 3 years on this one, but the best one of all here is the 3-year reserved instance, where you can get a 62% savings. So that's a lot. So for those 500 users, you can see over here, it's almost $5,000 for a month. So do the maths over 12 months. 5, 12, 60, so that's your $60,000. So if you needed, we said different storage, then you kind of pick them out here. So if you don't need to store stuff, you could just go for standard HDD hard disk drives, or if you wanted to go for higher ones, you could pick SSD solid state drives, standard or premium. But for this one, I just left it at that. So at the end of it, this is how much it would actually cost a company who already have E3 licenses. Just over $5,000 a month. So yeah, so that's that's the Azure virtual desktops and the pricing part. So, any questions on that, there, guys?
Yeah, I know Windows 365 is like a hosted AVD solution from Microsoft, um, and they finally used the Windows 365 copyright that they had or trademark that Microsoft had filed for. Um, I think one of the real powerful things is, especially if you think about like training, consulting, short-term use. You mentioned what it costs per month and what it costs per year. Um, any thoughts on like consulting or frontline workers, interns, that type of thing, Frank?
Um,
Yeah, yeah, I
how do you
think
mean,
it's
like interns then?
Yeah,
From what?
like what if for a retailer, let's say I needed to hire a bunch of people to do outreach, and I need to provide them the Microsoft tools. Um, an option would be to ship them a computer or computer, um,
Yeah, yeah.
shipping that computer back and forth versus like the AVD solution.
So, like, you could use Azure virtual desktops. You could just send them a link, and they can bring their own device. They
Yeah,
can log on from their own device through the app on their either on their phone or tablet or laptop, and you can set up the desktop just so as that they can only access what you want them to access on it. You know, so it's very flexible, and you've got access to everything that Microsoft has from Office 365. You can actually set up the desktop environment with your Office 365 attached to it, or you can um, set up OneDrive in it as well. So, you know, it's
yeah,
very flexible. You can do lots of stuff with it.
yeah. There's a lot of things from a security, compliance, cost savings. That way, you're not even buying a thin
Yeah, yeah.
PC, right? You're just saying, here's a link. You can get to it today. There's no delays of, oh, your computer hasn't arrived yet, or remember to send
Yeah,
it back because the engagement is over.
exactly. Like, so,
yeah,
the only thing you need from the hardware point of view, we'd say, if you're kind of, say, in a factory or production environment, is you need a zero client and a
Right.
monitor, to.
yeah,
So these things they're starting at around, you can buy them from $70 right up to, you know,
yeah. Yes, 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 Frank. It's absolutely that. So I think it's comes to end to the Azure AI show. Yeah. So can we end the stream?
Yeah.
Yeah.
sure,
So
sure.
thank you everybody, those who are joining the session. So we are really appreciate your time to participate this session. And if you have really queries regarding that Ignite session or so the book of news of Ignite and Frank Falvey about this virtual missions and everything, you just to go through that and you can feel free to ask us. We are ready to help you. So here we have the one of the greatest MVP. Dan is always 24%. He's ready to give you the feedbacks to every time. Please feel free to reach out us. Thank you everyone. So I just dropped your bye.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, bye everyone.
Bye everyone.